Hi, I'm Ann. I want to thank you for letting me take a week off while I had that horrible virus, and I hope that nobody else has it. And I hope if you do, you get better so fast. That was awful. Anyway, this week I'll have for you block 9 in the traditional quilt block series, and this week's block is the Ohio Star. I have done the 9-inch and the 3-inch versions of this block. And the main feature in this block is the quarter square triangle. We haven't done one of those yet. I included a page 3 on this week's pattern that includes a more simplified version for new quilters that does give you the opportunity to put together a quarter square triangle. And this was very difficult. I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking, what have I done to myself? Anyway, let's sit down and put together the 6-inch version of the Ohio Star. Okay, I have got my pieces cut for the 6-inch version of the Ohio Star, a bunch of 2.5-inch squares, and I've got the pattern printed out. Page 1 of the pattern is the 6-inch and 9-inch versions of the Ohio Star block. Page 2 is the FPP pattern for the 3-inch block. And page 3 is the simplified version of the block for new quilters, or if you just like it and want to do it. You will need to download the pattern to get the instructions to make this version of the block. As per usual, I am holding up the illustration for the Ohio Star block. You'll see the cutting instructions on the screen, and they'll be referring to these numbers 1 through 5. The instructions want us to take fabric A and B, which for me is going to be this one and this one, and make a 4 patch with that. And then in addition, we want to make another 4 patch with fabrics A and D. So that would be my background square, and again, this feature fabric, or the main one. Now, when we make these 4 patches, we want to make sure that like fabrics are in opposite corners. And so I'm just going to sew together my right side square with my left one for the top row. And I've got about a 1.5 stitch length, only because I haven't turned it back up from when I did the FPP. So I'm going to turn that back up now to about a 1.8. Okay. And I'm just going to chain piece all of these squares at once here for the 4 patches to speed things up a little bit. Just going to finger press at this step, and I'm going to press towards the feature fabric, or towards my A fabric. Doesn't really matter as long as you are consistent. So pick one and stick with it. And so making sure that your fabrics are opposite each other. Finish up your 4 patch. Nesting those seams, and that's why you press them both to the same fabric. Okay, taking these over to the iron. So I'm just going to get the seam hot to set it. And this time I am going to press the seam open. And on this block, I'm going to make use of clappers, and I just have little pieces of plywood here that don't have any kind of stain on them or anything. It's just Okay, so during this step, we are going to be putting these right sides together and stitching all the way around the square, 1/4 inch away from the edge. But we need to really make sure the centers in our 4 patches are lining up. And I'm going to just poke a pin in there so that I know that's in the center of each side. And I'm going to pin around it. All right. Once we got these lined up real well, just go around the outside and stitch a 1/4 inch all the way around. The Ohio Star Block dates back to the early 1800s and apparently was the introduction to the 1/4 square triangle. The Ohio Star Block is tied to Oberlin, Ohio, a town founded in the 1830s by reformers who opened a college to women and African Americans, a radical move during that time. And the Ohio Star Block is often associated with a specific story of Mary Leary Langston from Oberlin. Mary lost her husband, Charles, a prominent black man from Oberlin. He and his cohorts were shot during an attempt to start a slave revolution, and it's reported that his bullet-torn shawl was returned to Mary, and some stories tell of her making a quilt from it. Alrighty. We're going to cut diagonally from corner to corner right through the center. There's a lot of seams in there, and trying not to move anything. Turn it 90 degrees and slice it again. Fantastic. And now we have our 1/4 square triangles. This is so cool. And so you can see how getting that, taking your time and pinning these together so they're in perfect position will pay off. All right, and so at this point, I'm going to press these open. Okay, and then the final step here in making these 1/4 square triangles is to trim these down to, I think, 2.5 inch. Yeah, for the 6-inch block, it's going to be 2.5 inches square. So at the center, I want to line up 1 1/4. That's half of 2.5, and this is where I want to slice it. I hope. Next, we basically just assemble the block. All right, so now we just sew it together like a 9-patch. I'm going to put the center squares over the left squares and chain piece my way down. Attach the right squares to the left units. Okay, over to the iron. And so this time we're going to press the top and the bottom row to the outside, path of least resistance. And the center row, we're going to press toward the center. So in this round, we should just be able to nest these since we press them opposite directions. And we're wanting to run over this intersection right here with our seam as we go. So keep your eye on that and head towards it when you get close enough. Very good. Okay, and so we're going to do the same. Pretty good. Not perfect, pretty good though. Okay. And this final press, we're going to go ahead and press open. And I'm probably going to employ a little Mary Ellen's to flatten this out. We have a lot of seams at these points here. So, should be able to flatten those out a tiny bit. So I'm pressing to the side first. And then let that cool for a moment. Okay, now final trim. Here we go. Beautiful. Final step. Put the sashing and the cornerstone on. Two sashing and a cornerstone. I'm going to go ahead and pin this because I'm going to flip it over and stitch it from the side with the block on it so I can watch those points and make sure I'm not cutting them off. Pretty good, not too shabby. So I'm going to press this toward the sashing also, or away from the block. And then we can put the sashing on the bottom and you get to nest this seam. All right, and for the final press, I'll press away from the block again. Okay, very cute. Let's add this to the wall. Thank you for watching. Join me next week for Block 10.